The Hudson Bay Company, also known as HBC, was founded in 1670, and while many of us associate the brand with sheet blankets and big box stores, the company's history is as rich as the colored lines on many of their signature products.
Explorers and Europeans began building relationships with First Nations people in the area we now call Canada by trading fish with groups located along the East Coast, primarily Mi'kmaq. Over time, these relationships progressed and more permanent expeditions and settlements were established when it was determined that the area was rich with resources and could provide wealth to the home nations of explorers.
The English cashed in when they, with the assistance of First Nation people, founded what was known as Rupert's Land by the Europeans. It was plentiful in furs and as added benefit contained a vast amount of waterways connecting to Hudson's Bay, where large ships could gain access to inland Canada and their trading posts. This geographical and resource wealth formed the beginnings of Canada's oldest merchandising company, HBC.
Before long, HBC was trading regularly with the Cree and Assiniboine. The standard of trade was developed as a means of exchange to ensure consistent pricing throughout Rupert's Land. The Hudson's Bay Company used beaver pelts as a unit of currency that could be traded at their posts for various European trade goods.
Unfortunately, supply of pelts soon fell as overhunting led to scarce supply of furs, and demand also faltered. Eventually, the Hudson's Bay Company needed to negotiate a sale of its possessed land in order to survive the loss of the demand of their products and refashion their business to be successful in the newly created country of Canada.
The company opted to sell off their land, which would prove to be a lucrative solution and would fuel Canada's expansion west. As new regions were settled, the company's business changed immensely from fur trade to retail. New immigrants needed a much broader selection of goods, and a new type of customer and business evolved to take the past place.
Today, according to their website, Hudson's Bay Company is one of the fastest growing department store retailers in the world. HBC's portfolio includes everything from luxury to better department stores to off-price fashion shopping destinations, with more than 470 stores and 66,000 employees around the world. HBC also has significant investments in real estate joint ventures and has stakes in the HBS Global Properties Joint Venture, which owns properties in the United States and Germany.
HBC's vast array of business dealings have had great influence on the business world, but their influence on society and culture is equally as great. The expansion of industry brought by HBC to Canada placed our country on the map, allowing us to compete on a global scale. The Hudson's Bay Company brought a new dimension to the cross-cultural economy and allowed a variety of cultures to be represented and compete to be the best in the global market.
Although this rapid growth of cultural transmission had many benefits, the competition created was, at times, fierce. Large companies in the 18th century, such as the Northwest Company, sought to overrun HBC. This led to shootings, fights, and hostage takings. These wars interrupted the normalcy of the food supply in regards to hunting and fishing, and also the traditional economy, which had some major implications for the First Nations people of Canada.
In addition to the interruption of their traditional economy, the development and growth of companies like HBC influenced the arrival of the Jesuit missionaries who traveled to Canada with early explorers and settlers. These missionaries attempted to convert the First Nations people to Christianity, believing that Christianity was the best or most pure religion. Although there were many First Nations people who were not interested in converting, missionaries incentivized conversion using land rights, material goods, and other means. This religious coercion soon led to the development of the residential school system, where children were taken from their parents in an attempt to convert them to Christianity and kill traditional beliefs and practices.
As HBC was influencing the destruction of culture, another culture was being developed because of the company's presence in Canada and the establishment of the fur trade. The French implemented a trading system based on initiating direct contact and partnerships with the First Nations. Because of this closeness, many intimate relationships started to develop. Although the company discouraged cross-cultural marriages, cross-cultural families emerged all the same. These families bore children with mixed ancestry, and while for a long time this group of people was not formally recognized as a culture, we now identify children and descendants of these relationships as Métis.
The recognition of Métis as a unique cultural group in Canada has inspired specialized educational frameworks to address the specific needs of this cultural group. Although these educational organizations are not exclusive to or owned by the HBC, the culture itself, as mentioned previously, has deep roots within Rupert's Land, the area owned and inhabited by HBC. The Rupert's Land Institute is a great example of an organization that is committed to the educational needs and future goals of Métis peoples.
First Nations and Europeans not only traded goods, but instructed each other on their unique ways of life. Without the education of survival provided by the First Nations, Europeans would surely have not survived Canada's harsh winters, unable to adapt to life in the New World. Medicine men also helped teach the newcomers cures and enlightened them about their surroundings. Europeans taught First Nations about Old World ideas and skills such as fashioning metal into several goods. Each group educated themselves in the other's language to share knowledge and benefit trading relationships.
While many positives have come to education due to Hudson Bay settlements, unfortunately, First Nations people have lost much of their traditional education to European settlements, such as the trading points. While efforts are continually being made to reconcile the damage caused by residential schools, the intergenerational trauma we see as a result will continue to impact education for years to come.
Currently, HBC is devoted to assisting in this process of reconciliation by promoting Canadian history internationally, and their offshoot, HBC Heritage, provides historical information about the company, its development, and the growth of Canada as a whole. All of this information, as well as key outreach activities, for example, classroom resources, loans, donations, and travel guides, can be found on their website. Historical records, photographs, and stories are readily available to whomever wishes to access them.
There are many skills exemplified by the Hudson's Bay Company that we believe learners of all ages should utilize. First, the Hudson's Bay Company sought to be inclusive of all cultures, a task of utmost importance in educational environments. In order to be successful, they placed priority on understanding diversity, specifically in regards to cultural differences, and actively worked to maintain harmony by discussing conflicts and working towards common goals.
Secondly is the idea of personal reinvention, a concept HBC has mastered. One of the best examples of their growth mindset is their point blanket. This product accounted for more than 60% of all goods exchanged in the fur trade in the 1700s. After the fall of the fur trade, the HBC continued to market this successful product by changing its branding and introduced the first commercial for HBC blanket coats in 1922. Fabric was woven in England and shipped to Winnipeg, where blanket coats were made right up until the year 2000. By reinventing their unique product, they also demonstrate keen business sense, attention to consumerism, adaptation to new demands, and imagination.
Third, HBC encourages ownership for all those involved with the company. This includes celebrating unique skills, such as the skills that the Métis brought as interpreters and traders. They also identify weaknesses like the HBC's economic failures and past land disputes. Future students should be inspired to celebrate their unique identity and take ownership of their personal successes and failures. Educators provide toolkits, resources, and experiences to help students navigate their pathway through the educational experience and life outside of the classroom.
Finally, the idea of social responsibility is a value dear to HBC, and one that is at the heart of good education. They continue to work on initiatives to foster and enhance sustainable business practices. The HBC believes in contributing to a sustainable environment, working to reduce their environmental footprint, and investing in people that support them. They inspire innovation, provide ongoing professional development, and continue to be advocates for ethical sourcing, working exclusively with suppliers that ensure that child labor and forced labor is never used in the process of manufacturing any of their goods. HBC is committed to giving back, both to communities and to organizations globally. Schools are in the business of education. Like the leaders of HBC, school leaders need to adapt to their ever-changing consumer audience and use creativity and imagination to enhance learning and solve problems. An excellent educator strives to help students advocate for themselves, and like the Hudson's Bay Company, is committed to a world that never forgets the past but uses innovation to inspire the future.